news. Madagascar's new leader, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, is being sworn in by the High Court this morning. Following 3 weeks of deadly anti-government protests, the armed forces took control this week after President Ange Randrianirina was ousted and fled.
Media partner RFI reports that the ousted president, who also has French nationality, escaped after striking a deal with French President Emmanuel Macron.
It happened quietly, almost too quietly. On October 13th, 2025, a French military helicopter lifted off from Antananarivo under the cover of darkness, carrying Madagascar's President Andry Rajoelina out of his own collapsing capital. Hours earlier, his elite security force, the very same unit that once helped him seize power, had turned against him. Protesters filled the streets, the state broadcaster fell, and the country unraveled in real time. But while Madagascar burned, France moved. The same France that has spent years claiming it no longer interferes in African affairs. The same France that condemned coups in Mali, Niger, and Gabon suddenly found the time, the aircraft, and the motive to spirit a fallen African president out of danger and straight to Paris. Why? Because what went down that night wasn't a rescue. It was a message, a reminder that even when France appears silent, its hand is still on the switch. So, what really happened and how come France came to rescue Madagascar's president? In this video, let's know about the inside story. When Madagascar's president Andry Rajoelina picked up his phone on October 13th, 2025, and called France for help, that single moment revealed everything wrong with Africa's relationship with its former colonizers. It wasn't just a cry for help. It was proof that even in 2025, some African leaders still look to Europe, not their people, when their power starts to crumble. And France's quick rescue operation didn't just save Rajoelina's life. It sent a chilling message to the rest of Africa that if you stay loyal to Paris, Paris will protect you. But to understand, we have to come back a little. By late September 2025, Madagascar had turned into a pressure cooker. For weeks, the country had been suffering from rolling blackouts, water shortages, and rising food prices. People were angry, especially the youth. Thousands poured into the streets of Antananarivo and Mahajanga, waving homemade banners and chanting against corruption. President Andry Rajoelina, once seen as the youthful face of change, had become the symbol of failure. He had ruled for years but delivered little improvement. Roads crumbled, jobs disappeared, and even electricity, the most basic expectation, had become a luxury. The anger was personal, but also political. People accused Rajoelina of selling out Madagascar's wealth to foreign corporations. They saw their president as a man who cared more about investors in Paris than the children starving in Toamasina. And their anger wasn't misplaced. Beneath Madagascar's red soil lies treasure like vast deposits of nickel, cobalt, and rare earth minerals, the materials that power electric cars, smartphones, and modern defense systems. Global powers have their eyes on these minerals because they are the key to the 21st century economy. Whoever controls Madagascar's mines controls a crucial part of the global supply chain. That's why the protests in Madagascar made the world nervous. France has major stakes in the island through companies like Eramet, which operates the billion-dollar Mbatovi nickel mine. China and Russia had also started investing heavily in infrastructure and mining. The collapse of Madagascar's government could trigger a global scramble for control. When the protests grew, Rajoelina thought he could survive them. But when his own soldiers began joining the demonstrators, everything changed. On October 12, 2025, Rajoelina's worst nightmare came true. The elite presidential guard, known as CAPSAT, switched sides. This was no ordinary unit. These were the same men who had helped Rajoelina seize power back in 2009. They were his bodyguards, his loyal protectors. For them to rebel meant one thing. Even the inner circle had lost faith. CAPSAT joined the protesters and took over the state broadcaster. They ordered all other units to stop defending the president. The military and the people were suddenly on the same side, against Rajoelina. By dawn, the capital was in chaos. Buildings burned, gunfire echoed across the city, and at least 22 people were confirmed dead. Rumors spread fast. Some said Rajoelina had been captured. Others said he was hiding in the presidential palace. But while the nation demanded accountability, Rajoelina made a very different move. Instead of addressing his people, he called France. That single call confirmed what many already believed, that he had always been more accountable to foreign powers than to Malagasy citizens. From the moment he took office, Rajoelina had governed under France's shadow. Paris had quietly supported his rise, helped his administration with financial aid, and benefited from contracts that gave French companies exclusive access to Madagascar's resources. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. When his own people rose up, Rajoelina didn't turn to them for forgiveness. He turned to his masters for protection. And within hours, a French military aircraft was spotted at Sainte-Marie Airport. A helicopter lifted off from the presidential compound, carrying one man, Rajoelina. 5 minutes later, he was gone. By sunrise, Madagascar no longer had a president. France had whisked him away before his people could even demand justice. However, France officially denied involvement. President Emmanuel Macron told reporters he couldn't confirm or deny the evacuation. But journalists from Reuters, RFI, and Le Monde all confirmed the same story. France coordinated the rescue. Why? Because France wasn't saving a man. It was saving its position. France's military base on Reunion Island, just a short flight from Madagascar, is one of its most important strategic locations in the Indian Ocean. Losing Madagascar to instability could endanger French influence over sea routes, defense logistics, and mining contracts. Rajoelina's removal could have turned the island into another Mali or Niger, countries where anti-French sentiment exploded after coups. Paris couldn't afford that again. So instead of watching another ally holding deep secrets fall and risk losing everything, it stepped in quietly and secured its interests. But the message behind the operation was even more powerful. France was telling the rest of Africa's leaders, if you stay loyal to us, we'll never let you fall. That's how neocolonialism works in the 21st century. Not through armies or invasions, but through selective protection. If you obey, you get safety. If you defy, you get isolation. The very next day, Madagascar's parliament impeached Rajoelina, and the military, led by Colonel Michel Randrianarina, announced that it was taking control. He promised a 2-year transition and free elections. But as the world celebrated the fall of another corrupt leader, France stayed quiet. It didn't condemn the coup, didn't sanction the junta, and didn't even cut aid. Because while the military now controlled the streets, Paris still controlled the narrative. By giving Rajoelina asylum, France gained leverage. He was now a card that could be played later to pressure the new rulers, to influence future elections, or to remind other leaders what happens when they stop listening to Paris. And France didn't stop the coup. It simply made sure the new order didn't threaten its economic grip. But what Rajoelina did that night tells a lot about African presidents who feel it is convenient to remain French puppets. Instead of defending his country, he ran to the empire that once ruled it. It's the same system we have seen play out across Africa for decades. When trouble comes, leaders who rely on Western approval flee into Western arms. This isn't leadership, it's a dependency, and France has mastered how to use it. By rescuing Rajoelina, France sent a signal to other African presidents. When the people turn on you, we'll save you, but you'll owe us. And that's not friendship, that's control through fear. And it works. Many African leaders watched Madagascar's events closely. Some saw hope that if things ever went wrong, they too could find a way out. Others saw humiliation that Africa still hasn't cut the invisible strings tying it to Europe. The saddest part is that while France flew one man to safety, millions of Malagasy citizens were left behind in darkness, without electricity, food, or clean water. The rescue was never about the people. It was about power. France knows that it can't control Africa through force anymore. African nations have grown more assertive, especially after Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso expelled French troops and rejected Western dominance. So France has evolved. Its new strategy is subtle: use diplomacy, humanitarian aid, and rescue missions to maintain influence. It presents itself as a savior, not a master, but the result is the same. This is why many analysts now call France's approach soft colonization. No need for soldiers, just contracts, loans, and political favors disguised as humanitarian action. Now, after Rajoelina's escape, Colonel Randrianarina promised elections within 2 years. The African Union suspended Madagascar, calling for a return to civilian rule. But the power vacuum left the country fragile. The new military leaders haven't expelled France. In fact, they have remained silent about the rescue, a sign that Paris still holds quiet sway. Meanwhile, Rajoelina remains in France, silent and protected. He hasn't faced any accountability. His people, still struggling without water and electricity, are left wondering if anything has truly changed. And that's the bitter truth. While Madagascar changes presidents, the system doesn't change. The faces rotate, but the power structure remains. Foreign-controlled, elite-protected, and people excluded. And France didn't just save Rajoelina, it preserved a relationship built on dependency. Tell us, what would make France break its own rule and send a military aircraft to rescue a president it once helped dethrone? Was Andry Rajoelina a fallen ally, or a liability holding secrets too dangerous to be left behind? In the comment section, share your thoughts on the extremely close links African presidents have with France, and they call Macron when people demand their removal. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.